We've observed how that unfolds, naturally. The bombs fall. House continues to exist in a digital format, as the ghoul realizes when he breaks into House's command center. Welch ends up as a nuclear-powered head in a jar. For heaven's sake, the president is portrayed by Clancy Brown, who isn't exactly famous for his heroic roles. As Maud Lebowski once remarked, the entire situation reeks to high heaven. And if Cooper Howard indeed ended up sacrificing the world's future to a truly world-destroying piece of garbage, his later cynicism is quite understandable. Maybe that's why he clings to the widget instead of Maximus, though I wouldn't dismiss the possibility of a hidden agenda, and while the ghoul is stealthily entering the casino, Maximus is battling several Deathclaws in an old suit of New California Republic power armor. The residents of Free Side, who recall the NCR's glorious past, cheer for him, the ghoul, and Thaddeus, whose arm detaches as they near the combat zone. However, after the fight leaves Maximus on the ground and the gates from the Deathclaw's hunting grounds to Free Side wide open, they're likely to change their opinions quite swiftly. Apparently, Hoser is the preferred anti-Canadian racial slur. She escapes the tyranny of America with the assistance of a suicide bomber who eliminates a power-suited Marine, but tragically loses her fellow escapee Natasha Henstridge in the process. That I'm going to take a wild guess and say it involves eliminating as many Americans as possible by unleashing the forced evolutionary virus and transforming them into Deathclaws. I also suspect that Vault-Tech's plan for Vault 33 has been the same all along, as Norm keeps trying to uncover it while the revived Vault managers keep knocking him out. Sometimes, the actions of those who wish to destroy America and those who claim to want to protect it are indistinguishable from each other. That I assume this is why Steph is in such a frantic rush to marry Chet. Such a union would make her American, more or less, which I believe is her ticket to long-term survival once she sets her trap. But Chet ruins her plans by revealing her as Woody's murderer. He found his glasses in the garbage disposal, and, dun dun dun, a Canadian. As the guests gathered to witness their wedding go wild, Steph, her empty eye socket covered by a bridal white eye patch, flees and locks herself in the overseer's office while the furious Vault dwellers pound on her door. Meanwhile, in Vault-Tech's sacred sanctuary beneath Lucky 38, Lucy McLean turns down her dad's Darth Vader-style offer to bring order to the wasteland as a father-daughter duo. After pretending to get along over a home-cooked meal, dressed in a lovely yellow dress and all, she handcuffs her dad to an oven. Apparently, she's not convinced by his argument that the Legion, known for crucifixions and torture, and the New California Republic, with its high taxes, are equivalent threats that warrant wholesale lobotomization. She speeds off in the golf cart he just taught her to drive towards the mainframe controlling all of his brainwashing implants. Lucy finds out that it's powered by a severed human head. The journey to leap 200 years into the future was long and fraught with pain. It involved navigating a treacherous path laid by a once trusted friend who became an enemy, and an immoral nation that sacrificed entire countries to maintain its power for a few more years before contributing to global destruction. It's no surprise that Steph is filled with hatred and seeks vengeance against those who still proudly identify as Americans. Now she simply needs to find a way to escape an American prison once more. The Vault dwellers are aware of the truth regarding Steph. However, they don't know the entire story. They now perceive her as a villain, just as we did before we uncovered her history. It's a heartbreaking past that has transformed one of Fallout's most loathed villains into one of its most compelling and sympathetic characters. Because long before the bombs fell that obliterated the world, even worse monsters turned their weapons against friends. This made Steph a monster in her own right, fueled by righteous anger, who has never forgotten what America did and never will, regardless of how much time goes by. And who could fault her for that? Individuals attempting to leave Canada and cross the border into the safer haven of the United States. If it wasn't evident before that Fallout is a satirical narrative that turns reality upside down, it certainly is now. The opening sequence of Episode 7 is both chaotic and intensely distressing. As Steph prepares for her day, she recalls her attempt to escape from an internment camp in Uranium City, Saskatchewan, which spirals out of control when her unnamed companion, suggested to be her mother, suffers a fatal injury during the escape. Though shaken, she remains resolute and continues her journey south, clearly taking to heart one crucial piece of advice: if you must harm others, God will not judge you. Do not view them as human beings. See them as Americans. The episode then transitions to her ongoing storyline in Vault 32 as Overseer, but we do catch another glimpse of her past. None other than Cooper Howard encounters her in Las Vegas, inadvertently paving the way for her to join Vault Tech. Quite the wild scenario. All of this lends the cold open of this episode, along with its closing credits animation depicting a nightmarish no man's land along the American-Canadian border, a sense of a haunting nightmare. In the initial flashback, we discover that the